Hello. This is Antje from Byte Shuffle. Thank you for always watching our videos. This time, I put together an overview of how to play Doomsday against Ocelot Midrange, along with my approach to sideboarding for the matchup. There's also a link to the pile breakdown video in the description, so feel free to check it out. Here is the deck list we will be using this time. No lands in this hand, so I'll take a mulligan. 5 cards look stronger, so I'll mulligan. I put Lion's Eye Diamond and Cavern of Souls on the bottom of the library. Surveil's effect leaves it on top of the library. I'm digging for Doomsday. Surveil's effect leaves it on top of the library. My deck is pretty slow here, so ideally I wouldn't want to use Force of Will, but I'm going to use it anyway. I played Orcish Bowmasters first because I was worried about flipping a Ajani Nakedal Pariah, but in hindsight, I think it would have been better to wait and see what got revealed first. I'll play Murktide Regent. Surveil's effect leaves it on top of the library. I'm going all in. From here. Right now, the card I need to be most careful about is Orcish Bowmasters. This list only runs a single copy of Edge of Autumn, so if Orcish Bowmasters hits the battlefield, it feels like my life total could get pretty tight. If the Edge of Autumn in my hand gets taken by my opponent's discard, it feels like I'll just get run over by the clock on their board. By putting a fetch land on top of the pile, I can play around both the damage and the discard from my opponent's Orcish Bowmasters. Since Consider is an easy way to play around Orcish Bowmasters, I include it in the pile. I think any card works in the slot after Consider in the pile, but this time I went with Street Wraith. I built the pile in the following order: Island Thassa's Oracle, Street Wraith, Consider, Fetch Land. I draw a card with the Cycler. Using the pile opener to start drawing through the pile. Surveil's effect sends it to the graveyard. I win with Thassa's Oracle. Before sideboarding, I'd like to review the list we used. First, the conclusion. I will explain it step by step. These are the Ocelot midrange cards that matter against Doomsday. First, there's hand disruption such as Thoughtseize and Cabal Therapy. They can flood the board with tokens through creatures like Ocelot Pride and Ajani Nakedal Pariah. If the game goes long, Cabal Therapy can reliably be cast twice thanks to flashback, so it's something you really need to watch out for. The game plan we're aiming for is to either combo off with a fast hand by answering the opponent's hand disruption with our own counterspells. Or if our hand is slower, lean on our draw spells to rebuild after getting hit by discard and then aim to combo from there. Next, let's talk about Disruptor Flute and Deafening Silence. To deal with these, I bring in Force of Negation and hide on the ceiling. In exchange, I take out Murktide Regent and Tamiyo, Inquisitive Student. That's because they tend to be easy targets for Swords to Plowshares and Pyroblast, don't stick on the battlefield very well, and end up contributing very little to the game. I also bring in the Long Goodbye and Fatal Push. That's because Tempo-style Doomsday doesn't run Personal Tutor, which makes the deck's raw combo speed slower, so you need to buy time before you can safely combo off. In exchange, I cut days just to adjust the numbers. Next, let's talk about Pyroblast. It can counter or remove Thassa's Oracle. You can play around this by pairing it with Cavern of Souls. Therefore, I keep Cavern of Souls in the main deck so it's available when building Doomsday piles. Next up is Orcish Bowmasters, which puts a constraint on our additional card draw. To fight Orcish Bowmasters, we make use of cards like Consider and Fetch lands, as well as Edge of Autumn and Surveil lands, cards that minimize damage taken while also letting us reduce the size of the pile. Cyclers are important for combo speed, so ideally I'd like to keep as many as possible, but this time, due to space constraints, I trimmed down on Street Wraith since it's particularly weak to Orcish Bowmasters. Since this isn't a turbo build, mulliganing won't really increase my speed. I already have Doomsday in hand, along with lands and interaction, so I decide to keep. I'm going to dig for Dark Ritual. Surveil's effect sends it to the graveyard. Since I don't really have anything else to do, I play Tamio, Inquisitive Student, as a blocker. I'm going all in. From here. Since I have Force of Will and Days in hand, I build the basic structure of the pile so that if I counter just one piece of interaction, I can win immediately afterward. I think my opponent's next turn is most likely going to involve either Orcish Bowmasters plus Pyroblast, or a combination of Disruptor Flute and Pyroblast. I put Consider into the pile to play around Orcish Bowmasters, and hide on the ceiling to answer Disruptor Flute. If my opponent doesn't have Disruptor Flute, then hide on the ceiling becomes unnecessary. Therefore, by placing hide on the ceiling underneath Consider in the pile, I can dump it into the graveyard if it turns out to be unnecessary, while still being covered against unexpected situations. I built the pile in the following order: Thassa's Oracle, Edge of Autumn, hide on the ceiling, Consider, Street Wraith. Using the pile opener to start drawing through the pile. I'll counter it with Force of Will. Surveil's effect sends it to the graveyard. I win with Thassa's Oracle. Thank you for watching up to this point. I apologize for the many play mistakes. I hope to improve at MTG together with everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. See you next time. This is Antya.